So here's one thing I found is I had left some solution in the tank, and I don't know if you can see this little bit of gunk here. That's after I rinsed this container out numerous times. So that kind of stuff can, I'll just get it out with my finger here, that kind of stuff can clog the filter on here. In fact, you can see a piece on there right now. So that's one reason why the water may not be flowing properly, is if you've left solution in the tank and it's gone funky and it's covered this filter with scum. The other thing I noticed, which was kind of weird, is that the tank has a vent here to allow air to come into the tank as the formula is flowing out. And on mine, after I did everything else, it still wasn't working. I ended up taking a very, well, first of all, I ended up blowing on this with my mouth, which we may or may not want to do, to dislodge the rubber that's on the inside from these two little vent holes. The other way you can do it is if you get that very thin piece of wire that I'll show you, you could use that to carefully push through these holes, just enough to dislodge the rubber if it's sticking to the inside here. This is a vent that allows air to come out. Like if there was too much pressure in here, it would come out through here. But it was this guy here that seemed to be causing most of my problems, because air couldn't come into the tank, so it would end up in a vacuum situation. Even after I had rinsed out the tank numerous times, I stuck my finger in through the opening and I could feel sludge around the edge. So now what I've got is a bottle brush here that I'm going to use to scrub the inside of it. Of course, it would be nice if this thing, oh, it does reach to the bottom, good. So I can use it to clean the entire inside surface of this tank to take any remaining scuzziness off. So here's that thin wire I was telling you about. I forget where I got this, but I realized I better put tape on it, otherwise I'll never find it. And I just took it and carefully pushed into these, put the camera over here, pushed into these two little holes, just enough to move that rubber so that the rubber was no longer sticking, if it was sticking, which I think it was. So that's one way. And the other way, as I said, is you just put your mouth over this and blow, and that's going to dislodge that as well. But some people may not want to do that. So the issue I was having was that when I'd be running the vacuum, I was not getting any water coming out. You can see here I am getting a lot of water now, which is what you want. And you'll see that when you're running it, because the water or solution will come up here, and I wasn't seeing that. So the first thing I did is I thought, well, it must be that this nozzle here is plugged. So I ended up unscrewing the two screws here to take the nozzle off, and then it's pushed onto a plastic tube, so I carefully pried it off the tube. And then under the sink I ran water as I used that little wire and pushed into every one of these holes to back flush it. And then I turned it the other way and ran water in through the, here I can show you. Yeah. This is again at the sink. I ran water in through this end, and then I blew in this end, and I could see all the little holes working. So I knew that this was working, but it still wasn't leaving the tracks of water on the carpet, which is what I was looking for. And that's when I discovered that other issue. I don't know if I mentioned before that you got to clean this thing out every once in a while. Little bits of lint get in there. And if you've got a really dirty rug, you might have to wipe this guy out.